Okay. Today in social studies, we are going to be able to answer a short response question. Why does Popo tell Ting that she needs to be brave? And give two details from the story to support your response. So, I'm going to go through and read this to you. This is a third grade reading. Okay, this is actually a reading from an old New York State test. So, this is something that you would be expected to read on your own, but we're going to read it together and break it down. And what we're focusing on today is why does Popo tell Ting that she needs to be brave? Remember, brave is when you overcome obstacles, you stand up for something that you believe in. It's when you do something out of your comfort zone that impacts others. It makes, if you need to be brave, it's when you overcome an obstacle and you're doing what you need to do to overcome challenges. So, why does she need to be brave? And we're looking for two details that show us why she needs to be brave. So, before I even get started, there is a little excerpt at the beginning before even I start reading the article. It's important that you read that. It gives you background information. So, Ting has lived in China her whole life. A year ago, her parents moved to the United States to try to make a better life for the family. Ting stayed back in China with her grandparents. Now it is finally time to be reunited with her parents. Her grandparents have prepared her as much as possible. And now the big day has come. Ting will make the journey and once again be with her parents. So we know that she is going to be traveling, right? Living in China her whole life, parents moving to the United States to try and make a better life. So now she's going to be reunited with her parents. That's a big deal. So this is an excerpt from Honeysuckle House. Excerpt means it's just a piece of a text by Andrea Cheng. When Mama left Shanghai for America, I didn't know it would be so long before I saw her again and I forgot her smell. Not quite, but when I did finally see her, more than 1 year had passed and her smell had changed. There was no more of her soft perfume along with the anise that she put in the soup. I'm going to stop right there because I don't even know what that means. But it tells us anise, a plant that is used as a spice or herb. Okay. Mama had a sharp soap smell instead. It was so strange to me that I didn't recognize her. As good readers, I'm stopping and thinking before I move forward. I realize here that the author, the narrator of this text, I'm assuming is the little girl because she's referring to Mama, right? So when she left for America, she's just saying that her mom has changed. She didn't quite recognize her. So I know it's been a long time. The text says it's been more than a year that's passed. So it's just giving you a little background information that she doesn't recognize her mom because she's been so long. The flight attendant brought me to her. I'd been asleep on the plane, so my careful pigtails were all messed up. But first, I wasn't even sure that it really was Mama, and I held tightly to the hand of the lady. Grandma Popo had asked her to deliver me safely to my mother. I wasn't scared. When Popo told me to be brave on the long trip, I wondered why she said that. Sitting on a plane with a nice lady to watch over me wasn't scary. But now when I smelled the sharp soap, I knew what she meant. Okay, so now I'm stopping and thinking. I'm seeing the question that I'm focusing on. It was telling us, why did Popo tell her to be brave? So now we're thinking, she's saying, well, I didn't know what I needed to be brave for because sitting on a plane isn't scary. But let's think back to what they told us beforehand. What could possibly be scary about this? Well, her meeting up with her mother that she hasn't seen in a year is scary. Her meeting up with her mother who she hasn't been with and doesn't quite know, she barely even recognizes her, is scary. She has to trust the flight attendant that this is actually her mother. She has to reconnect with her mother. All of those things can be scary. So let's continue to read and look for details. Ting, you have grown so tall, Mama said, scooping me into her arms. The lady left and tears came out of my eyes. Don't cry, Ting, Mama said, wiping my face with her palm. We'll go home and have some soup, noodle soup, to celebrate that you are in America. I listened to Mama's words. Her voice was the same as I remembered it. "Where is Baba?" I asked. "He had to go to Chicago. He'll come back to see you very soon." I tried to imagine how my father looked, but all I could remember was the smoky smell of his clothes. Okay, I'm going to stop and think for a moment because I've learned a lot here and I don't want to continue until I make sure I understand. So she's talking about she's meeting her mother and she is now officially with her mom. They're going home, they're going back. Her voice is the same as she remembered it. So that's comforting to her. Who is Baba? It says right here, I'm trying to imagine how my father looked. So I know that Baba has to be the dad. So she's being reconnected with her parents. But the dad's not there yet. And she's trying to remember what her dad looked and smelled like. Now that I know what I've read, I'm able to move forward. I held tightly to Mama's hand as we went through the airport. The voices around us were so flat, no ups and down sounds. When I was in Shanghai, Uncle said I should learn English. He found an English teacher who came to our apartment every Wednesday and Friday after school. She had 10 English books, and I finished all of them. But at the airport, I didn't hear the words in my books. I gripped Mama's hand, so much smoother than Popo's. The noodle soup was almost the same, but not quite. In my mouth, it was fine, but the smell was not right. I had only a few spoonfuls. "You don't like the soup anymore? Now you like meat?" I shook my head. The room was spinning. The kitchen stove was gigantic. It even had a door like a room. I'm going to stop and think. We're noticing she's saying Mama's hand is smoother than Popo's. She's just noticing the difference between her mother and what she's used to being at her grandparents. So her Mama's hand's smoother than Popo's because Mama is younger than her grandparents. The noodle soup is different. Everything's going to be different because she's in a different environment. These are the reasons why she needs to be brave. She is in a new place. Yes, she's with her parents, but she doesn't quite know who they are anymore, so she has to get used to them again. All of this can be scary, which is a reason why she needs to be brave. "What's that?" I asked. "Oven," Mama said in English. She explained in Chinese. "It gets very hot inside. In Shanghai, we didn't have an oven. Popo cooked everything on an electric hot plate on the landing. Soup, noodles, everything. Mama showed me my bed. It had a blue plaid blanket on it. The room was like a closet with a small window at the end." "Can I sleep with you?" I asked. "In China, I slept with my cousin Hong. She took all the covers and pushed me into a small space against the wall, but still, I was not alone." "In America, you have your own room," Mama said. The bed was so fresh and new. My nightgown had the same soapy smell as the noodles. The air was too quiet. Okay, so here's another thing that she has to overcome. In China, she slept with her cousin and they shared a room, so she wasn't alone. But here in America, she has to sleep in her own room and she has to sleep in her room alone at night. That's something that's different as well from where she was in China. That's something that could be scary for her that she needs to overcome. So your question is, why does Popo tell Ting that she needs to be brave? And you're going to give 2 details from the story to support your response. You need to make sure you restate and answer the question, give a clear claim, and then you need 2 details to prove that your claim is correct.